Joining us on the video conference, we have Bill Ryerson. And Bill's the president of Population Media Centre based in Vermont, USA. He's worked in population for around 4 decades. And he's previously served as Director of Population Institute's Youth Division, Development Director of Planned Parenthood, Southeastern Pennsylvania, Associate Director of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, and Executive VP of Population Communications International. Bill's going to be talking on what's needed to solve the population problem, and I'm told he has produced a very influential soap series that's played in developing countries, Africa and other countries, that includes family planning and is quite able to demonstrate impact from those productions. So, Bill, are you able to hear me?
Good evening, or good midday to you. It's nice to be with you long distance.
Excellent, and it sounds like we have quite a good connection across the video conference this time. So, Bill, welcome, and please go ahead with your presentation. You have 20 minutes,
okay,
and at the end we'll have 10 minutes.
Now, one technical question. Do you have my PowerPoint, and can Nick or whoever has that put it up on the screen for at least a portion of my talk so you can see what I'm referring to?
Do we have that? Sorry, we're just on hold here. We think we've got your PowerPoint, but it hasn't been loaded onto the computer system. We've just retrieved it. Yeah, okay. Okay, Bill, we've now got your presentation up on the other screen, so if you just indicate when you want us to change slides, we'll be able to do that. And we're actually on just the start screen, Population Media Centre at the moment.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll say next each time to change the slide. Increased use of family planning. Are you on that slide?
Yes, we've got it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you. As you can see from this slide, we have had great progress in the field of population and family planning. From 1960 to the present day, we've gone from 10% of the married couples of the world who use modern methods of contraception up to 54%. So that's huge progress, and this is largely the result of a major effort in the 1970s to make contraceptive services available around the world. This really met much of the existing demand for such services, although not all of it. And there are still places that lack access, ready access to services, particularly remote rural areas. One of the frustrating aspects of population growth is that the 46% of the adult couples who are not users of family planning today outnumber the 90% non-users of 1960 because of population growth. Next slide. One of the big problems that we face, however, beyond just the numbers that we need to convert into being family planners, are the reasons the non-users give for their non-use. The most common reason given when people are asked in the demographic and health surveys why they're not using various methods is the tradition of large families, or they want more children. Even among those who don't want additional children now or at any point, there are reasons given that generally don't have anything to do with lack of access to services. They are fear of side effects, male opposition, belief that one's deity determined at the beginning of the universe how many children they're going to have, and the belief that it is against their particular religion to use a method of contraception. These cultural and informational issues far outweigh lack of access to medical services now in terms of the reasons given. In fact, among the people who are not using contraception and don't want to be pregnant, about 2% or less, depending on the country, cite lack of access to services as their reason. The next slide. I'm sure you've probably talked about this in the conference, that rapid population growth and particularly large families are one of the major drivers of poverty in the developing world. This is particularly true because in young, large family countries, people spend a very high percentage of their income on just surviving, food, housing, and clothing. And there's no money left over to invest in things that build the productivity of the economy, like education or infrastructure or government services or roads, and so, which is, of course, part of infrastructure. So these countries tend to have stagnating economies. The infrastructure costs alone per person on a lifetime basis in developing countries comes to about $13,000 US. I'm sorry, I don't know the conversion into Australian dollars. But when you multiply $13,000 per person over a lifetime times the net growth of the world's population of about 78 million people, the cost in additional infrastructure just to keep the per capita infrastructure even in the developing world is $1 trillion a year. And there's no way that developing countries can come close to meeting this need. On top of the absolute growth of population, these countries are going through rapid rural to urban migration. Bruce Sundquist, an American author, has projected there may be as many as 4 billion people moving from rural to urban areas in the next 3 decades. And that will just add to the overloaded infrastructures of the cities of the developing world. Next slide, please. So these are some of the factors that I was just talking about in terms of families spending a very high percentage of their income on survival needs and not being able to generate capital for building productivity of the economy. And of course, one of the chief problems with lack of capital formation is businesses cannot borrow and grow. So in such countries, there tends to be high unemployment. And this, of course, is an increasing security concern. Next slide. As you can see, and there have been several reports, World Bank, Population Action International, and now the U.S. military, in fact, looking at the propensity of high growth young countries with high numbers of unemployed males to end up with civil conflicts or international conflicts. I was asked to speak last September to the Naval War College, which you may have heard about because there's been recent publicity, is part of the Africa Command of the U.S. military that's trying to build capacity of African militaries. And the U.S. military is very concerned about the fact that populations outstripping resources in African countries could lead to increasing numbers of civil wars. We certainly see that fragile states have a very high correlation with very youthful very youthful populations with large family size. Next.